Welcome to the MYBcast, a channel offering podcasts devoted to the art and science of somatic touch therapy. Somatic touch therapy is an alternative for self-care that recognizes the important role the body plays in our day-to-day life. We are fascinated with the mind-body connection, and so are the people we talk with. From pioneers who helped to originate or develop this work, to seedlings of somatic mindfulness who have adopted principles of this work in their massage practices, our guests will uplift, educate, and inspire you. Thanks for joining us. Please like, subscribe, and share. Now let's join our hosts.
We'd like to welcome everybody back to Portraits of the Pioneers, Season 3. I'm Anna Marie Bowers, and I'm here with my co-host, Richard Mack. I'm going to turn it over to you, Richard, to welcome our guest for his second segment.
Thank you, Anna Marie, and we're excited to welcome back Roger Tolle to our show. And in episode 2, we're going to dive into Roger's transition from the world of dance in New York City into the world that he spent many years working, and that is as a Traeger practitioner, an instructor, and actually an avatar of bringing this movement modality into life, into so many practitioners' lives. So without further ado, Roger, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Richard. Anne Marie, good to see you both. How shall we begin?
Let's talk about some of the clients. Your exit from New York City, how did you get more into the actual practice of the Traeger approach, the somatics approach? What was your transition like? And I'd like to hear a little bit more about some of the types of clients you worked with and what the results you've seen from that.
Good. Working first with a lot of my performing artist friends as my clients. That was my community. That was the people, those were the people I was living around, interactive with. They knew other performing artists. This is the word gets around among the people you know. So my practice at the beginning was mostly performing artists. Um, and they're pretty exciting for me to work with. There are some lovely, interesting stories about different kinds of issues that I was playing with them. I did find, though, that if I wanted, when I began to actually let go of my dancing and devote myself to a real full-time involvement with Traeger practice and teaching, um, those performing artists don't make very good long-term clients. They're very, as a group, and I shouldn't say unreliable, but they aren't reliable clients. They also don't have any money. And so if I wanted to actually support myself, which I have been doing all along with this work, I had to actually, get them to refer their parents, their aunts, their uncles, their older friends who actually would benefit a lot by this work. Um, and that was an exciting, and that sort of then, so that's another phase of a different kind of clients there in New York. When I decided to leave New York City was mostly because I had already transitioned to my main profession being teaching the work around the world. So by 1999, when my partner and I moved out of New York City, I could afford to do that because 2/3 of my income was coming from teaching workshops all around the world. I still had a private practice, and that was the hardest thing for me to leave in New York City. All those people that I loved working with. But freeing myself up from that meant that a lot of my clients for the next era were students of the work. They were students and practitioners all around the world. And that was kind of fun, getting into different cultures and doing sessions with people I didn't share an actual spoken language with. It's kind of fun. Oh, how do I work with some of the dialogue, the necessaries, but also the subtleties of communication? And then I would say maybe a fourth era of my practice has been just in recent years, where I've found myself more quiet in myself and more at home a little more and the clients that I've gradually developed long-term relationships with are now, like me, growing older. And there's a whole set of different concerns and different issues to deal with in an older population. You know, the sort of retired folks. That's one way of talking about us. But in this current environment and the first world country of the United States, we have so many of us living really pretty well way into our 80s and 90s and wanting to stay active, which I think is great. It's also a task that we need to take on, living and moving well for our whole lifespan. And so that is where a lot of my clients have been moving now. So from young, energetic, exciting performers through a whole gamut of different kinds of folks in my practice over the years to working with people nearer the ends of their lives when all the kind of systems are beginning to weaken, and issues like arthritis and Parkinson's and neurological decline and forgetfulness and the kind of anxieties and depressions that come from being isolated. I mean, all of these things are, you know, more part of the zeitgeist within the clients that I'm working with a lot. So that's the kind of overview, I guess, of the development of the practice, my practice.
So let me ask you this. In your practice with clients, are you working with people towards a specific goal? Are they seeing you several times a month, a year? Is there any type of a pattern, or how are people finding you and what are you doing for them?
That was 8 questions.
Well, answer one of the eight.
One or the other. No, I love it. And that opens up a lot. Yes, I have a wide variety of clients that I've seen over these. I've been in practice 40 years, right? And that's pretty full-time practice for 40 years, pretty much focused in the arena of Traeger. There's other stuff that, of course, I brought in and studied, but this is the main professional moniker for it, for me. My clients find me in all different ways, a lot by referral, used to be. Now some of that referral is online referral by Google or some kind of search engine. I now have an online presence for my teaching a lot, but also that identifies where I practice and how I practice. And so people locally might find me from my website. I try to make sure that my online presentation represents my work really well. The breadth of it, but also the depth of it, the quality of resonance, the importance of working with a highly attuned presence, highly attuned touch, highly attuned kinetic or movement sense, and that is the opening that lets me impact the experience and with my clients, their experience with their own bodies. And I used to call my practice coming home to yourself. When I had a little business card, that's what it said. Who does business cards anymore? I don't know. So, you know, the eras of how we talk about, how I've talked about the work have needed to go through changes, because in that period of time from before there was an internet, before there was email, before there, you know, it's a lot different now.
Do you have any particular client stories that you want to share that you over time, over this much time, anybody stands out as, wow, that was a really interesting client or a really phenomenal kind of result?
And hundreds of those, but I'll have to choose a little bit because we're not going to take the next 100 hours for this. And I was thinking about that before we talked, um, kind of highlighting some of these eras of my own development. In the world of performing artists, one client stands out. Uh, I'll call her Victoria. At the time, a budding Broadway singer actress, and she had a role in a play that was, and a colleague actor in the play who knew me, and when she was having trouble with her body, he sent her to me saying, well, Roger can help you feel much more relaxed. Yeah, that was a kind of, I guess, his introduction for me. And she came to me, kind of all jittery and nervous. And of course, that sometimes happens with people, they don't know what they're getting into. But this seemed pretty extreme. And so in my interview with her, I found out a couple of really startling things. One, that she was in a play in which she was playing although it was a comedy, sort of a slapstick kind of comedy, but she was playing what we would call today a battered wife, right? So she was being flung around the stage, and she showed me places on her body that were bruised. And I went, whoa, that's harsh. That's really hard. And she said, yeah, it's gotten really bad. And I can't even allow my husband to touch me at night right now. And I went, oh man, that's really a bummer. And so we began not with my touching her, but with her touching herself. Um, the softness of her own touch to herself in a way that felt soothing to her. And I watched to see what she was doing for herself. And during that first session, she probably spent half an hour just in learning more about how good it felt to touch herself with care and comfort, to comfort herself. And I asked her if I could also touch her, and we did some simple movement. I don't think I even got her on the table, just standing and then sitting, just letting her feel the quality of safe touch and what that would feel like, and then the quality of gentle, easy movement that came through me to her and then back to me. It was enough of a eye-opener for her, and over the next couple of weeks we did a few more sessions where I got a chance to really coach her on talking with her director to get real, what they call fight training or choreography training, so that she wouldn't be actually, as an actress, being battered. Also, eventually, the guy who was playing her counterpart left the show, and somebody else came in, and suddenly she had the experience of having great fun in that part rather than great pain. So some of it was just changing the experience, but it was enough that she was convinced of the effectiveness of this. She stayed my client for several years and developed herself through my encouragement in softening her breath, getting her voice to be less taxing for her body, letting her wildly expressive personality and brightness as a personality begin to shine up out of her whole body, not just something she put on, but something that she lived, and she got known as a really fine actress. Some years later, after leaving New York City, I stayed in touch with her a bit, and she's now a 2-time Tony Award winner. She's been acknowledged for this presence. That's the kind of joy. There was another woman who's now very famous singer who I had the joy and pleasure with when she was coming to New York to do some gigs, performances, and sought me out because of her voice teacher was my client. And there was an interesting period of getting a lot of these Broadway singers as part of my clientele, helping them with the body experience of singing with ease.
Mm.
Um, Livingston, who was the voice teacher, and I did a workshop for the Traeger International Conference back in 1992 about working with singers and helping people with voice. That was great fun. Um, Moving a little further into my practice, as as I said, I started to work with more pedestrian kind of people. I got a call one day from a woman, I guess I can call her Mina, um, who said that, this trend, sort of tender, scared voice on the phone saying, do you do massage? And I said, no. Um, what's going on? And she said, oh, well, my doctor told me to get some massage because I'm so anxious and I'm having all various kinds of problems. And I said, well, I might be able to help you with those problems. So I work in a little different way. And she didn't pick up on that too much, but she heard that I might be able to help her, and we made an appointment. When she walked in, here's this I had a long hallway. I would watch people walk in front of me down to the studio where I worked. And she had these tight little steps. She was all dressed all neatly like a woman of appropriate age. Her voice had this characteristic Middle Eastern accent to it, and very much the woman of the 50s and 60s, all done up in her, her pearls and her correct little outfit and the low, sensible heels. She was 70 years old, she told me, and she was very upset because she wanted to be able to write her very famous father's autobiography, but she was having trouble sitting for any length of time to write. The list of her ailments was long. Constipation, unable to sleep at night, back and neck always hurting, not being able to walk comfortably, on and on. So I thought, well, we could certainly get started with some of that list. And I helped her eventually to get on the table for about 45 minutes. It was all that she could probably take. Her neck would not move. Her entire body was rigid. When I picked up the leg, I mean, I couldn't pick up a leg. I couldn't pick up an arm. Everything was just held. But I said, okay, what did Milton Traeger teach me? When you meet resistance, go lighter, go softer, go slower. I went lighter and lighter and lighter, softer and softer. I finally was just literally thinking about movement while I held her head, and then thinking about the possibility of her leg moving. And even with that, my hands got softer and her leg gave way a little, and I started to let it, move a little. And when I had her stand up, she went, oh, oh, that feels different. Um, an awareness of something which she couldn't describe. And I showed her what I thought might help would be this little thing you will recognize, this little leg drop, leg dangle thing, trying to shift your weight off of one leg, let that leg stay on the ground, but let it dangle and move a little free, hoping that she could begin to tune in to letting go as a feeling experience. And I asked her to call me the next day because with all that stuff going on, I wanted to check in with her. And I got a call from her the next day, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And she started off by saying, hi, this is Mina. What did you do to me? I almost panicked inside, thinking I had way overstepped some kind of boundary I hadn't noticed. And I said, whoa, well, tell me what's going on. She said, well, I just woke up. I slept 14 hours straight through. I don't have any headache, and my bowels have moved. And can I come see you tonight? again. And I went, well, I don't have any time yet today, but tomorrow I have a time free. And she said, I'll take it. And I continued to work with her 3 times a week, then twice a week for a while, then once a week for, oh gosh, a year. And then we tapered off to once every other week because she was feeling way, way better. The headaches did not come back. Her bowels continued to move. She was able to rest at night, which means everything began to function better. Yeah, and she was able to sit for longer periods of time. So her goal of being able to spend a couple of hours at a time writing, she was back at it and very much happy with that. But I was also interested to keep the momentum going and kept asking her about what movement she was doing during the day. Within a month or two, she was like really walking around the apartment and then around out in her neighborhood, around the block, slowly and carefully meeting her neighbors. Aha, social contact, very nice idea. And then moving out into the world a little bit more, going places, going to the theater, going to art museums. So a new life. And at one point, she said she had decided to take ballroom dance lessons, and that was all very exciting. And pretty soon, her dance teacher was spending more time, more and more time with her, and I got it that they were an item. I just thought this was great. About a year and a half after starting working with her, she looked very happy when she came in to see me, and we were playing with movement at the beginning, and we were talking about all the things that would come. And I said, "So, what did you do today?" And she said, "Oh, mm, mm, this man and I, we went for our walk around the park." And I went, "Oh, where did you walk?" She said, "Around the park." And I went, "Oh, you mean like Central Park, around in there?" And she said, "Well, not in there, around there." And I went, "Well, uh, uh, what do you mean?" And she said, "Well, there's this long loop that goes all the way around Central Park. Now that is, I don't know,
Miles.
5 miles, 7 miles. I looked it up. I think it's 7 miles when you
Yep.
walk." I said, "Well, how long in the world did you walk the whole thing?" "Yes." "How long did it take you?" "Oh, it took us about 2.5 hours." And I went, "Wow, really? You're doing that much of a loop?" "Yeah. What did you think I was doing?" Anyway, this is the transformation over about a year and a half with a woman who's of an age and of a culture where something simple like walking with her new boyfriend around the park is a huge life-altering deal. She eventually did complete that memoir, that autobiography of her famous architect father. So it was that's a wonderful place. Let's see, more stories. I mean, this problem is with what of it, I think I've estimated that I'm around like 35,000 clients by now. So it's a little hard to, or client sessions, because a lot of that is repeated sessions with the same people.
Well, how about this? Is there any client that really changed the way you practice, impacted you as a practitioner in an unexpected way?
Oh, uh, wow, that's great. The broad answer is that every client impacts me.
Mhm.
That I am touched deeply by some of their experiences and how they allow themselves to let go and change and grow and get stronger or freer. Um, and that feeling of being touched by touching people is
Mm.
the reward of doing the practice for me, one of the big ones. Um, hmm. Ooh, particularly. Well, yeah, this the client I'm working with right now, who's exactly my age. So he's also 74. He's got Parkinson's. when he came to me, pretty stiff, of course, but also very smart, a doctor, MD, retired, but brilliant and devoted to his new life process of developing himself in movement and awareness through meditation and somatic movement training, so that he can continue to move more fluidly and not let the Parkinson's close in on him. It's been a very fruitful relationship for me because he comes in, tells me what he's been exploring. He, among many, many clients, he really takes on every new thing I suggest for him, and any new awareness, takes it on, tries it out, does his own variations of it. Just recently, he decided, because he wasn't sleeping so well with his wife, that he got a bed in his guest room that folds up into the wall, and he uses now, he sleeps in there so that his wife can get better sleep and he can get better sleep. And he goes through this little ritual in the morning that he practices folding up the bed, pushing it up, pulling it back down, pushing back up, pulling back down. Then he does it one side, then he does it the other side. He's using that activity to, I never thought of that. And this is the way he's teaching me, reminding me over and over again, oh, this is how we of a certain age need to be taking care of ourselves, paying attention. He'll describe the way he worked on the trail around his house. And I would say, what do you mean worked on it? Well, I was cutting brush from it and I was removing the rocks from here and there. And I'm thinking, and this is the man with Parkinson's who's, walked in with the typical tight Parkinson's shuttle, but now is walking relatively slowly but evenly. And he comes in and so there's this moment. He walks in and he goes, oh, oh, and just drops himself into this space and into the place that he's been practicing, that I've been helping him learn how to practice, and that he's been helping me learn how to reinvest in. And so,
Wow.
yeah, invest in the life that's here. So yes,
That's that's a beautiful line. Invest in the life that's here. That's a great tagline.
yeah,
Especially in your 70s. That's a great tagline.
yeah. And of course, it's a refrain that I've been giving to students as I teach Mentastics all the time. Good morning, everybody. Say hello to your body that arrived today. Welcome this body that you're living in, that's here right now today. Notice what moves, start there. Notice what feels good, start there. Find movement that keeps feeling good. Yes, of course, there's grumpy places. Yes, of course, there's some islands of discomfort, but don't invest in those. Invest in the movement, feeling, quality, presence that feels easy and fluid and comfortable, because what you practice grows.
That's beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. And I'm sitting here watching you tell your stories with a glow. And here's a man I'm looking at who's absolutely living in the heart standard versus a gold standard. The rewards that you get from the lives that you've changed have played very, very deeply into the psyche of who you are.
Yeah.
And I know, being one of your students and have had clients from New York that have worked with you back in the day, that are, they found me through the Traeger organization. Um, I just want to thank you for the work that you've done in opening up the path for so many other people that are coming down this road. And thank you, thank you, thank you. I love the stories you're sharing. Um, we're going to end episode 2 right now, and we're going to invite Roger back for a third episode. And in that episode, Roger, we'd like to talk a little bit about where you'd like to take this work. Where do you see the future of this work going, and what role do you see you playing in doing that as you continue to go down the road of going down the road?
Thank you, Richard. That's great. And thanks, Anne Marie. This has been a rich and rewarding conversation that opens up for me more of what has been happening in my work, in my life, or life work. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us at MYBcast. We hope you found the stories inspiring. This series has been made possible by our hosts, our production team, and our guests, whose willingness to share their personal stories is vital to educating the public about the power of somatic touch. We're all contributing to creating positive change. Thanks to our sponsors, Mind Your Body, the Foundation for Somatic Touch, and Somatic Mindfulness. Find them on the web at myb.llc. foundationforsomatictouch.org, and somaticmindfulness.co. Please like, share, subscribe, and join us again for more interesting, compelling, and heartful stories.